WhatsApp group or email to everydaychant@gmail.com. Thanks. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Namah Sarvebhya Sushvagatam. Bhaktaganam. Kripya Tanamevam Vasanagare Nama Vadatu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Aham Surinder Bhandari, Maryland, Vasami. Hare Krishna to all the devotees.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Hare Krishna to all the devotees on this call. This is Geeta from Maryland. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Mataji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा सुमति माता जी एंड हर्षिता माता जी एंड समस्त भक्तगण मम नाम श्यामरसिका देविदासी अहम जर्मन टाउन नगरे वसामि.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Malini from Ashburn, Virginia, and Hare Krishna to all devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna to all the devotees. This is Aarti Sardesai from Ellicott City, Maryland.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Would anybody else like to announce their names? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading the summary of chapter 3. Hare Krishna. His Grace Sri Gopal Prabhuji, please take over the call now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Audible now?
No, little very less voice, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Now is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji, very clear.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Tadati Sa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamischa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamisya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Desatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratiche Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusuti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the summary of the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So before going to the summary of the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, just wanted to give you a revision of what's happening in here in the Gita. So in the first chapter of Gita, Arjuna is asking Krishna to place his battlefield, place his chariot in front of the in between the armies, and then Arjuna is not able to take the decision, and he gives many reasons why he should not fight in the battlefield. He compares that there is, out of compassion he should not fight, and then out of because whom will I enjoy with this battle, even if I win this war, if I kill all my relatives, whom will I enjoy with? And it's not saintly for a person to kill all the people around, and especially it will be the cause of the destruction of the family. And so there is this indecision in Arjuna, and then Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. And after Arjuna surrendering to Krishna, Krishna is asking Arjuna that you know in the second chapter, that how can you think about all this horrifying thoughts actually. This is like killing Krishna, killing the he's asking Krishna that you haven't killed any of your relatives and you're asking me to kill. I know you killed Kamsa, but still, he was very evil minded, but not here. So Krishna actually summarizes it about the complete Sankhya philosophy in second chapter, and then he speaks about Karma Kand. Sankhya philosophy is analytical study of matter and soul, and how soul is eternal and the material body is perishable and inert, and the outer covering of the soul. And then Karma Kanda philosophy, he speaks to Arjuna. If Arjuna dies in the battlefield, then what will happen? He will go to heaven. If he wins the battlefield, he will rule the earth. So there is honor and dishonor, both which are provided for a Kshatriya. So he can fight, just considering about the Karma Kanda philosophy of, Krishna is explaining in the second chapter. And then thirdly, he describes about the Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga, that art of work, that you can work in the different modes of being selflessly doing service and not getting attached to the result, and with great resolute determination, vavcha atmika buddhi, with that determination you should work, feel for focusing your mind on Krishna, you should work, just simply fight, and for desiring for Krishna, you can simply fight, and whatever the result will be, it will not be sinful reaction. As in Karma Kanda, he was very much afraid about what if there will be some sin which will be acting. And then Krishna speaks about symptom of realized soul, this mm, personality, um, mm, um, um, chitta pragya. He speaks about that, and he concludes after speaking that one who is not connected with the supreme and not doing devotional activities, he cannot have steady mind or peace of work. So hearing all these things, Arjuna is asking here. Firstly, he asks, there are like couple of questions what Arjuna faces, and this is what is the beginning of the third chapter. So dealing with the confusion, is renunciation good, or working in nishkama karma good? This is what Arjuna is inquiring. Arjuna inquires why Krishna previously recommended buddhi yoga, using of one intelligence to link with Krishna, and commanded that fruity work, but wishes him to fight. Still he is wishing him to fight, that he has to work with intelligence but fight. And Krishna replies to these questions eventually about that there is karma and gyan. So Krishna is now, this is like the confusion of Nishkam Arjuna. And then this is what has been discussed here in the first couple of verses, where um, Krishna is telling about Arjuna is telling that how can you expect me to act in a ghora karma? Ghora karma, it's like very, very sinful activities. You know, Krishna is like, Arjuna is asking such questions to Krishna that I have never committed this ghora karma, and now you are asking me to commit tatkim karmani ghoramam. He's asking that I don't want to commit all these sinful activities. So please advise me what I should do. And this is where Krishna is going to start his Bhagavad Gita, explaining about the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Just a second. There is one very beautiful, I read about the third chapter, just to give a revision of third chapter from S.B. Keshav Maharaj book. He has done that revision very beautifully. He gives the example of Karma Kand, or Karma Yoga, with analogy. Before I enter into the third chapter, I thought I'll just put this thing very nicely for all of you. He compares the analogy of a tree. He gives the example of a tree, and then he explains the division of the third chapter with this tree. He tells that very clearly that a tree, how it is very, very selfless. He produces so many fruits, so many flowers, and but he's selflessly offering it for the welfare of others. In all seasons, the tree is, fruitlessly, it's like where with hard endeavor, with his duty as to offer his services to everyone. He's giving everything. Even though a man mistreats him, even though a man, sometimes cuts the part of the tree, even if the animal comes and urinates on the tree, still the tree is providing everything. Tree is providing shade, tree is providing a home for the living entities like sparrows, birds to come and take shelter of the tree. Tree is providing fruits, even though they're coming and doing such um, um, uh, wrong activities with the tree, but still the tree is providing everything. Even if a person needs wood for burning for cooking, he provides the wood by cutting himself. He provides the best thing is flowers, he provides the fruits. And the best thing about the tree is, it's even if the tree is cut into many pieces, if there is something left also, it takes with great determination and starts growing it back. And it has that strength, it has that fresh vigor to again serve everyone selflessly. There is nothing what he's getting, the tree is not gaining anything, but he's selflessly trying to serve the world or the people around whom he's coming across. So this is like this example he gives in explaining about karma yoga, and he tells that this is what actually we can learn from the tree, that in spite of living in this world, we don't get attached to the results what we are producing, and we are selflessly actually doing the acts. But the thing is, karma kanda means we are doing it for ourselves, but karma yoga means we are trying to do it for Krishna. So that is where the complete difference comes between a devotee acting and a person acting outside. So this is like something what a person should be learning. So this is very, very wonderful to understand that he demonstrates the art of living and functioning in this world with great grace and resilience, and then with deep selflessness. This is what the tree is teaching. And when the tree is teaching, it also shows us how how one can live in this world. This is saying in the Bible also that be in this world but not of it. So same way Krishna is telling in this chapter of Gita, that you be in the world, you act in this world, but not getting attached to the results or the activities what you do in this world. So this is what actually Krishna is telling in this third chapter in summary, if we come to know. So he speaks, first he gives the example. SBK Maharaj gives this complete description with the acronym TREE, TREE. So T stands for Tyag. Tyag means renunciation. So first 1 to 7 chapter, first 1 to 9 verses explains about Arjuna's Tyag. It's like Arjuna is asking about the different questions first initially, and then he explains about the Tyaga or the renunciation, leaving the battlefield, and he wants to renounce, and then he's expecting that he doesn't want any honor and everything. So now Krishna explains in this further section about how one should not be renouncing just for the sake of renouncing, but for the sake of Krishna. And then R stands for regulation. Krishna speaks about regulation. It's like the second main theme of this chapter is about how to perform sacrifice. Whom should we perform sacrifice for? Whom should we consider the main object of sacrifice? Is it our own self, or is it pleasing to the demigods? Most of the people outside, they have this very strong mentality of doing this activities, but doing it for demigods, worshipping the demigods, because they don't have the clear understanding that who is the one who is providing everything. And they consider demigods to be the supreme, and then they start worshipping because that is what has they have learned from there. Most of the times what they learn is they learn from their parents. It generally comes in the family lineage, that they have been worshipping so many things, so many people around, so many gods around, and they don't have the complete understanding of who is the supreme. And this is what they consider to be the best, and they start worshipping the demigods without because of their ignorant nature actually. And they consider them to be the supreme, and then they start worshipping them, and this is what they try to do sacrifices for. And this is a main theme, where Krishna explains about how from rains and everything. When we come to that section, we'll discuss a little bit more about that. And then he gives the example of exemplary behavior, that is from the 17 to 35, that just for setting an example, at least how great souls have acted, you should also act. You shouldn't be just detaching yourself and then going out and take sannyas, or take go away from the battlefield. He's telling Arjuna, so you have to be exemplary. He gives the example of different personalities, that Krishna himself says that I also act just to set an example. So this what is setting a right example. If you don't set the right example, then how will the people understand and people will lead that thing? And then Krishna explains about further ahead that which is the eternal enemy, that lust is the one of the greatest enemy, even though a person doesn't want to act, but it forces one to act. So this is a very beautiful section where Krishna explains the reason for a person to commit sinful activities in this material world. In spite of that person not willing to act most of the times, but it is lust that which pushes that person to act in a very sinful way, and commit the sinful activities very, very wrongly. So this is something which is what we learn, which is what is very beautiful description what SBK Maharaj gives the acronym of tree. It's there in the Gita Life book what he has written, and I was just going through it when I was preparing for this talk, and it's a very beautiful thing to understand that the complete third chapter, if we understand, if we see a tree, we can always remember that it is explaining about the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, how one should be not just act in a very renounced way, but act in a way that which is pleasing to Krishna. And then e that is T, that is tyag, or renunciation. And then E stands for T, R stands for uh, regulation. One has to be regulated in offering his services, and especially performing his sacrifice for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And then he is being an exemplary person so that he sets a right example for the people around to understand and live with the principles of performing the right karma yoga. And then third is karma yoga means connecting it to the Supreme Lord. And the third one, fourth E is how to fight and defeat the eternal enemy of lust by taking shelter of Krishna. So this is in one way complete summary of the third chapter. So, this is what I was thinking to speak, but then if we go a little more further in this descriptions, then we understand how it is very, very beautiful. So, uh, when I was going through the this Gita Amrita Bindu of Radheshyam Prabhu, he explains this first 1 to 8 verses very beautifully through a poem. He tells that if wisdom is superior to work, why do you want me to engage in the fighting of this terrible war? Your contradictory instructions are confusing. Please describe a single path for achieving the highest goal. This is the first and second questions of Arjuna. And then he explains, Krishna says, Krishna said, previously I explained these two paths in the world, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. A person cannot attain spiritual freedom merely by withdrawing from the work, nor can it be achieved through the insight alone. And he further tells, no one can refrain from actions even for a moment. Everyone is forced to act according to the nature's qualities. One who eternally restrains senses, but whose mind inwardly dwells on the sense objects, is deluded pretender. And then further, the last mentally restraining the senses by detaching the result and by positively engaging in karma yoga is superior approach. Performing prescribed activities is better than inaction. Without work, you cannot maintain even your own body. This is like the first section of Bhagavad Gita, of this chapter, which Prabhu tells very nicely in a poem. I thought I'll just repeat that thing what I have heard. It's like very beautifully explains this first section, how it is very nicely explained. Krishna is explaining that, previously I've explained to you in the second chapter, the Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. And then he's telling that just by refraining, a person cannot attain spiritual freedom merely by withdrawing from work, nor can he alone, nor can he achieve insight alone. So this is what most of the time people are looking forward, that if there is problem, let me just withdraw. This is what not Bhagavad Gita teaches. Bhagavad Gita teaches that you have to stand and face that problem. Even though, you may feel that, okay, this is, and this happens most of the times. This thought comes most of the times when we are in great confusion that, why did I do this thing? Or, सब छोड़ छाड़ के चल जाना चाहिए, बस हो गया. And most of the time we face ourselves in this situation. ये ना, अरे क्या कहाँ पर फंस गया मैं? Sometimes we question. That time this thing should be remembered from the Gita, that this is not the time that, I question just like, I want to leave everything. Krishna explains very clearly, even in that situation, if you think what best you can do, how best we can act, that is what is Krishna is teaching actually in these chapters, that, you should learn to uh, get a lesson from that situation and try to do your best to come out of that wrong situation if you're in a wrong situation. So it's like something which is very, very important. And then Krishna further explains, no one can refrain from actions even for a moment. Everyone is forced to act because this is the nature's world. The world is created in such a way that everyone is forced to act according to the different qualities, according to the different modes, different, gunas, goodness, passion, and ignorance. So everyone is forced to act. So no one can just restrain it. It's like something which, no, even though, unwillingly he wants to restrain it, but he still cannot restrain because he's been forced by the material nature. So that is the nature of this material world. So one who externally restrains it, but internally he dwells his mind on the sense object, he's to be a pretender. He's always pretending. Sometimes people, want to renounce, most it's in India, it's like mostly common that people want to become like a very spiritual personality, and externally they renounce everything, but internally they are very, very attached. They're dwelling on those sense object. Like, Radhanath Maharaj gives this very beautiful example in his journey home, that when he went to, the upper parts of Himalayas trying to meditate, he saw very nice Muni Babas and other things like that. And, they have taken a vow that they will never speak. But at the same time, when they wanted to communicate, they have their small slate with them and a chalk with them. So, and even though they have taken a vow of completely renouncing to speak, when their minds are agitated and when they want to communicate with others, they write it uh, on the board, and they communicate. So this is one example, small example. I'm telling that even though we want to restrain and renounce everything, but still if one is trying to think about internally and trying to meditate, then he becomes like a pretender only. So this is which is completely not required. So mentally restraining the senses, and then being by detaching ourselves from the result and positively engaging in karma yoga is very, very important. So Prabhupada writes in a purport very nicely. There is no rejection of anything, but dovetailing of everything. You know, this is the process. Do everything, but in Krishna consciousness. If you are a fighter, fight for Krishna. If you are a businessman, do business for Krishna. If you are, this is what Prabhupada tells in one of the lectures in this chapter when he's giving. If you are doing something else, but do that, but for Krishna. This is wanted. This is what is Krishna consciousness. This is what Krishna teaches in his chapter of third in this chapter where he speaks about karma yoga. So Prabhupada is very, very clear about how one should do everything for Krishna. This he speaks in 1968 in LA Temple. So this is very, very important. So Krishna again, speaks about the difference between Sankhya Yoga and Buddhi Yoga also during this initial first part of the chapter. So there's one more purport which is very, very wonderful, and it speaks about the ultimate goal is Krishna. Because the philosophers who are sincerely searching for the absolute truth, you know, uh, ca- philosophers who are sincerely searching for the absolute truth come in the end to Krishna consciousness. This is also stated in Bhagavad Gita. The whole process is to understand the real position of the self is realizing is in the relationship with the super self. So Prabhupada writes it in the third chapter. This is eighth verse, I think, eighth or third verse. So one who is very impure in his heart cannot perform the activities for the purification of the heart. This is also explained in in these verses. Okay, there is one very important section which I wanted to bring it. Is about the ninth verse. Ninth verse explains, you know, uh, one second, we'll go. Yagya artha karmo netra loko yam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. This verse is one of the key verses to understand whom one should do sacrifice for. And this is like something which is very, very beneficial for us to understand. This is where Krishna is speaking about in the eighth verse, what he speaks is that because if you perform your prescribed duty as a kshatriya, as a grihastha, you engage yourself in the war, Arjuna, and then after and not renouncing and going to forest. And he tells by gradually, if you do engage, you perform your this activity, then what happens is your heart gets purified. And once your heart gets purified, because if your heart gets purified, then it's very beautiful. But if you renounce, that will be fall down since you are not performing any activity. And even if you renounce, then you will have to again commit to do something, So that is what Krishna is explaining. One second now. I just lost my notes. One second. So 3.9 speaks about whom this sacrifice should be performed for. This is like something which is very, very wonderful to
Okay.
understand. Since one has to work, even for Prabhupada writes the purport very beautifully. Simply, since one has to work, even for the simple maintenance of the body, the prescribed duties for the particular varna and ashram are meant to be fulfilled for that purpose. So yajna means that one has to give the supreme lord for the sutis, such as yajna. Yajna work Vishnur. Yajna is meant to sacrifice or to be done for the satisfaction of the Vishnu. If Vishnu is not satisfied, then performing of your yajna is no use. So any yajna you do, any sacrifices you do, it has to be done for the sacrifice of the Vishnu, the satisfaction of the Vishnu. So anyone works in this material world, he gets bonded by the reactions, the good reactions and the bad reactions. Anything you do, you're bonded by the good reactions and the bad reactions. So how do you do that? You do it for the pleasure or the satisfaction of Vishnu, then there is no binding of any activities what you do. So under the great expert guidance of a devotee, you directly do this. Hare Krishna. Thank you for blessing. Supposed to lead the kirtan. Yeah, one second. Sorry, Hamsa Rupa Prabhu had come just so wanted to speak to me. So result of working in the above way is karma bandhana. So here there is this very beautiful cycle also of karma yoga and karma bandhana, which can be explained very nicely. Um, how does karma yoga works actually? If one understands very nicely, karma kanda means a person is performing. First of all, if we understand, how does this cycle works of karma yoga? Anyone who is not accepting scriptures, this is the yoga ladder, which I am going to explain within few minutes, because this is the next section what Krishna explains. You know, anyone who is not accepting scriptures, he is just doing whimsically according to his mind, without unrestricted, with no restrictions of his sense control, and is engaging himself in the activities of enjoying. That is nothing but unrestricted sense enjoyment. That is nothing but a person is trying to lead a life which is in an animalistic way of life. So this is even below karma kanda. Karma kanda means he is leading a life with a regulated sense enjoyment prescribed by the scriptures. At least he is accepting some scriptures as the basis and he is doing any activity. That is karma kanda. And then above karma kanda is karma yoga. And karma yoga can be divided into two or three parts. There are two parts, that is nishkama karma and sakama karma yoga. So, first is animalistic way of life, second is karma kanda way of life, and third is this karma yoga. Karma yoga is again subdivided into two parts, that is sakama karma yoga and nishkama karma yoga. Karma yoga is what? He's doing karma kanda means he's accepting what is there in the scriptures and is doing, but is not able to connect it to the Supreme Lord. Karma yoga means that is karma kanda. Karma yoga means he's connecting. Yoga means what? The word yoga represents that one should connect. And whom should we connect? He should be able to connect the activities what he is doing to the Supreme Lord. That is Karma Kanda, Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga. Yoga means to connect, and Karma Yoga means our activities are getting connected to the Supreme Lord. Then that is Karma Yoga. So there is two types of Karma Yoga in one way. That is Sakama Karma Yoga. The person who is very much attached to the fruits of his activities, you know, and he wants to enjoy those fruits. He is Sakama Karma Yogi. Like, he wants to enjoy. That is like the karmis who do outside. But Nishkama Karma Yogi means he's completely renouncing, he's dovetailing his results to satisfy the Supreme Lord. So that is Nishkama Karma Yogi. So this is like a two thing. Karma Yoga can be completely defined by subdivisions of Nishkama Karma Yoga and Sakama Karma Yoga. And this is what has been there, that he wants to perform activities, but as a result of doing selflessly. There is no personal interest, but he is doing selflessly. He is trying to do these activities. And then above the yoga ladder, if you go, there is Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Jnana Yoga means there is no work. Person wants to withdraw himself from completely, and then just accumulate knowledge by reading a lot, and just trying to understand the material world without performing anything. And then there is Ashtanga Yogi who is trying to perform uh, many different yogas, many different types of pranayams, and this uh, other processes of Ashtanga yoga, right? Dharana, pranayam, asanas, and other stuff like that. Meditating, dhyana, and everything like that, that he's trying to do. And then trying to accumulate, come to the realization of that Supreme Lord who is there within the heart, trying to meditate. And then above that is the Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is like the topmost thing, where one is performing all his activities just for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is where the Bhakti Yoga comes. And Bhakti Yoga can be further be divided into different parts. So this is a section actually which is very, very important to understand also, because if we understand the yoga ladder, then it becomes very easy that whom are we supposed to do the sacrifice, whom are we supposed to do the activities for. So this is one section of Gita where it explains about how one should overcome different uh, different things. And then from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga, how one can come. That is the complete section. Again, a subdivision of section in from third chapter of this 10th verse to 16th verse, where Krishna tells that you perform your activities by being detached and dutiful work, and then perform this activities as prescribed in the Vedic scriptures, and do it for the pleasure of Krishna. So there are three categories. What he explains, Lord Vishnu is the beginning of the creation and provides men with all necessities to live happily and to achieve liberation. But then people have like different things. His representatives are the demigods, but people misunderstand the demigods to be the supreme Lord, and then they want to perform all their activities, in activities to please the demigods rather than understanding and pleasing the supreme Lord. So when they perform sacrifices, they have to perform sacrifices for the pleasure of Vishnu, not for the pleasure of the demigods. This is what is like a misunderstanding, because that is what has been explained in the scriptures also, that whom one should do the sacrifices. The sacrifices has to be done for the pleasure of Krishna. And Krishna explains further that, about the very beautiful thing about how one should do sacrifices, that everything comes from him. One second. Um, he explains in the 14 to 15th chapter how complete dependence of the living entities is by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That how Krishna is providing everything, it's like all the living entities, the purpose of the human life is to please Krishna, And how does that go? That goes like, everyone is dependent on one thing, that is food. Everyone needs something for their nourishment, that is food. Now, how will that food be available? For that, Krishna is providing rains. And for rains, what is required is one has to perform yajna, sacrifice. And how sacrifice is done? Because it is born of the prescribed duties, what one is given. If one does that continuously, then there is possibility of performing this yajna. And where is the source of our prescribed duties mentioned? And that is mentioned in the Vedas. And where does Vedas come from? The Vedas come from the Supreme Lord. So everything is completely dependent on the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is giving the Vedas, and in the Vedas it is very nicely been prescribed about the our prescribed duties, what a person has to do. And then once wa- a person understands his prescribed duties, then he starts performing them, and then he starts performing yajna, sacrifices. And depending on the yajna, sacrifices, what he's doing, then it produces rains. And when it produces rains, then accordingly the food grains are grown. And then once the food grains are grown, all the living entities who takes those and get nourished, and they live accordingly. So this is the complete dependency of of the living entity upon the Supreme Lord. And then Prabhupada writes in this purport very beautifully when it comes to about sacrifice yajna. He tells that the best yajna to be performed in this Kali Yuga is none other than the Sankirtan yajna, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Just by chanting the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is the best way what one can perform the sacrifices. So when we get up early in the morning, when we are chanting, that is the best yajna what we are doing. You know, uh, yajna means we generally have this notion that there is yajna kund in front of us. There are some brahmanas who are sitting and chanting the mantras, and they are performing, ahuti of ghee, and they are, burning the fire, and, everything has been performed by chanting of the mantras. And at the end, we perform the sacrifice and everything like that. But you just understand what has been mentioned in the scriptures. When we chant the holy name of the Lord, that is also a very, very strong yajna that is very strong way of performing yajna. And how it is that yajna? Yajna is like, our ears are the yajna kund. These are our ears where we hear the holy name are nothing but the yajna kund. When we sit and put the ahuti, and what is the ahuti what we put? We put the ahuti of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And what does the fire do when it burns? It gives smoke, and it burns, it produces fire, and it purifies also. So same way, when we chant the holy name of the Lord, what happens is, when it enters the Yajna, when it enters the ear, it enters and enters the heart. And when we chant the holy name of the Lord, the holy name which enters our heart through the ears, through the Yajna, it goes and purifies, it burns away all the impurities what are there in our heart. And then it purifies the place, purifies our heart. And this is where once the purification takes place, then the Supreme Lord who is there within the heart can very nicely, we can connect it to the Supreme Lord. That's why Prabhupada, when he writes that where we have to perform yajna, the Sankirtan yajna, and most of the purports during this section of the third chapter, when it comes, especially from ninth verse to almost like 20 verses. Prabhupada writes every purport, almost every purport. He writes about yajna means performing, chanting the name of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Yajna Sankirtanapa, Yajanti hi Sumedasha. He tells about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has come to perform this yajna. He has come to give this holy name. So we are here to perform this yajna. And yajna, when every day when we sit and chant, we are performing a yajna actually. We are performing a yajna to please the Supreme Lord. We are performing a yajna not by, like sometimes when we see, in the temples when we go, devotees sit in a circle also. And, they have that japa circle. Everyone is chanting the names of the Lord. Everyone is performing the yajna. They are performing the yajna very strongly, and they are chanting very sincerely, then that is like a strong yajna actually, Sankirtan yajna, which is purifying the whole complete atmosphere as well as purifying that person. So this sacrifice has to be done every day for a devotee. And um, this is one more section which is coming. If we take that section also now, then or should we stop here because it's almost like 8:15 now, and we can take some question answers and reflections rather than going for this section. What do you say, Hare Krishna? Sham Rasika Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can take question answers. It was so
Okay,
wonderful explanation, Prabhuji.
okay. Anyone has any reflections and question answers? Because this next section is about setting a right example, Nishkama Karma, acting dutifully with detachment to set the right example. And then, if you want, we can over brief everything and then go also. But then, if you would just want to complete this thing within couple of minutes, what is the characteristics of self-realized person and everything like that. Or we can take question answers. So whatever we suggest.
It will be complete by third chapter, Prabhuji. Then, if it
Yeah,
is
it will complete third chapter if we just
yeah,
overview
please
what is
take
happening.
Sunday, so no worries.
Huh?
It is Sunday, so if you have time, you can please cover that.
Only thing, I have this responsibility of attending the Bhagavatam class also. If I'm
Okay.
in the temple, I always have to attend the Bhagavatam class also. So I have asked permission till 8:20 I can be here,
Okay,
and
then.
then I should at least go and attend at least for some time. Because sometimes, most of the times, Hamsa Rupa Prabhu or Jayadit Maharaj or
Mm-hmm.
other senior devotees, they come and give. And if I'm in the temple and giving my separate program, it's not recommended very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I have to rush immediately after like 8:20, 8:25. Mm.
Yes, so
So I cannot
anybody has
extend
any question? Otherwise,
yeah,
we
yes.
can continue, which is for two,
Yeah,
three
if
minutes.
anyone has any reflections or questions, we can take, or else I'll try to revise this complete chapter within couple of
Yes, so Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Geeta. I just
Hare
wanted to
Krishna.
ask you a quick question. Thank you so much for this wonderful class. So many important points for us. So you mentioned Prabhuji that Radhanath ji was saying that when these priests in the caves when they had taken a vow not to speak,
Yes,
but
Muni Babas.
they yeah.
Hmm.
So what is the benefit? What kind of renunciation and how does this help to take this vow? I mean, it is a renunciation for sure, but how does it help us? Thank you, Prabhu.
Sometimes people actually, this type of vows generally are not recommended for a devotee. Devotee has to use his senses to glorify or engage them in Krishna consciousness. This is especially, these Muni Babas and other things, they are like, they want to internally think, they are like Gyanis, or they want to think about themselves to be, they want to just accumulate knowledge by mental speculation. So, and they don't want to speak. They think if I speak, then there is a lot of botheration. So they don't want to engage in a lot of botheration. Like sometimes we understand, right? If we want to speak, that means what? In there's a lot of energy which takes place. Sometimes, you just be alone in a room, you feel quite satisfied, rather than being outside with a lot of people around. So these people have that mentality that, I just don't want to speak anything. I just want to cultivate my own knowledge by, thinking or reading about the Supreme Lord, and do some meditation and perform a lot of austerities. And that is what is the way of self-realization according to them, you know. So they follow these types of austerities. But for a devotee, the greatest austerity, what Prabhupada recommends is, you utilize our senses in Krishna service. If we want to use our tongue, we just want to use it for glorifying Krishna. We just want to speak about Krishna and nothing else. There are so many things happening in the world, but I'll not engage in, fault finding or rumors or the news around the world. Rather than whenever I speak, whenever I engage my senses, I want to engage them to speak about Krishna. Whenever we meet some devotee, some person, we want to speak and glorify Krishna. So that is like the greatest austerity for the senses, to utilize our senses in glorifying or serving Krishna. Not just our tongue, I'm telling, our eyes, our nose, our ears, our body should be completely utilized in the service of Krishna throughout the day. Then that is the best austerity. That is the greatest austerity. Rather than, detaching ourselves and not doing anything. Yeah, sometimes we can definitely do that, but it's not recommended. So that's why whenever we go out, whenever we meet any person, we want to glorify Krishna. We want to speak about Krishna. So that is very important rather than completely detaching ourselves and being like a, introvert person, not speaking to anyone. Devotee is not like that. Devotee is always wanting to engage everyone in Krishna's service. So they want to speak about Krishna. They want to glorify Krishna. They want to, ignite the fire of Krishna consciousness in others by speaking about Krishna, by engaging them in Krishna. If you cannot speak much, then at least give them Krishna or conscious books to them, or invite them to the temple. And that is how we actually utilize our senses in, in the Lord service. Not that we know we, and the most important thing is that, like how Krishna tells in the second chapter of 20, this sixth, second chapter, that like a tortoise, we engage our senses in the service of Krishna whenever is required. And whenever we are not utilizing the senses in Krishna's service, then we withdraw those senses, from sense objects. Or else what will happen if we try to engage them still in the material world? We engage them in sense gratificatory activities. So we try to completely withdraw those senses, and then we, try to engage them in Krishna service. So whenever it is required, we try to engage them. And
Thank
whenever
you,
it's not
Prabhuji.
required, we
Yes.
just withdraw them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. And another quick question, Prabhuji, is that you said that when we hear the mantra that we are speaking, we are
Yes,
chanting, as that is the time when the burning of our sins take place. Is that right?
yes,
That's what you
yes,
mentioned?
yes, yes.
So
Then
that,
that is,
yeah, sorry.
sorry, can you repeat the last sentence?
So you mentioned that when we hear what we are chanting, the
Hmm.
Maha Mantra, is then the burning of the sins take place.
No, that's the burning of our impurities takes place. All the impurities in our heart, they start getting burnt when we start chanting the name of the Lord. It's like cleansing of the mirror, we tell, na, Cheto Darpanam Arjanam. Same way, whatever impurities are there in our heart, they start getting burnt away when we chant the holy name of the Lord very sincerely.
No, so you mentioned about hearing. So that is
Yes,
the whole cycle gets completed only when you hear, right?
yes, yes, yes. We have to
Even though
hear the
they
holy
say
name.
that it is good to chant if sometimes you are not doing it attentively, but you should still chant.
Yeah, that
However,
is
that
that is
is,
also very important. But at the same time, if we don't hear, then the purification doesn't happen so much. It's good to chant. It's not recommended that we should not chant. But at the same time, if we are not like attentive with our chanting, then the benefit what we get is very, very minimal. So one has
yeah.
to like keep hearing the holy name actually. That's like highly recommended.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anyone else want to share something? Anyone else wants to share something
Hare Krishna.
or some
Prabhuji.
reflections?
I don't have any question, but very nice
Yeah.
class. Prabhuji. You explained
Okay.
very nicely about third chapter.
Mm.
I think it's 8:23. You have to go, Prabhuji.
Yeah, yeah. I think yes. Definitely. Okay. Someone else wants to share also, they can share it after the call also. Next time, if I'm not there in the temple, I can take it till 8:30, 8:45 also. I have no problem. But then only thing, I just want to be taking part in the Bhagavatam also. Please forgive me because of my
No,
limitation.
Prabhuji.
No
Yeah.
worries, Prabhuji. Thank you for your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class every time.
Thank thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare.
Next
Jai
time,
Ma.
when you do the other chapter, then you can little bit complete the third chapter, and then
Oh, yes, yes. So
continue.
if if next week I'm not taking, The other devotee he wants, he can just complete the third chapter also. It's like a very small sections, couple of sections are there which they can cover up. So I've completed till almost like 20-25 verses. 17th verse onwards they want, they can just complete it. If
Sure,
not,
sure.
I can cover it next time when I'm taking. I can just explain a little bit
Yeah,
about those
yeah, that will be
two
good if
things.
you do that. Yeah,
Yes. Thank
continuously.
you. Jai. Srila
Fine.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Devacha
Vancha
Pavanam
kalpatarubhyascha
Devashantaram Anant
patitanam
Koti
pavane
Vaishnava
Vaishnava.
Jai
Jai.
Acharya
Jai.
Jai
Jai.
की जय श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय श्री
Jai.
प्रभुपाद
Jai.
की जय
Jai.
श्री गोपाल प्राण प्रभु की जय
Jai.
थैंक यू सो मच हरे कृष्णा एवरीवन
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Hari
Prabhuji.
bol, Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
Hari
Hari
Prabhuji.
bol.
bol,
Hari bol.
Hari bol, Hari
Hari
bol.
bol.